Marsha, you just posted the most amazing quote this week, and it like kind of changed my life. But it was about self-care and chocolate cake, and I was like, whoa, I'm listening. So the world's view of self-care doesn't always align with what we think is true, and how it really might be something different than chocolate cake, but I do like chocolate cake.
Yes, me too. And it can be a very valid part of self-care.
Well, for sure. Yeah, we don't want to say that. You can have chocolate cake. It's fine.
I think what struck me about this quote, the basic concept was that self-care is not all just the indulgent things we might think. I think it said specifically salt baths and chocolate cake.
It sounded pretty good.
I could add mayonnaise, petties, Netflix binges. It's not all that. It's about creating a life that you don't want to regularly escape from.
That's what it was.
And, an occasional indulgence is certainly lovely. They don't create a life that you don't want to escape from. They are the escapes, right?
Yes.
And so what about going deeper and thinking, well, is there anything I could do differently in my life where maybe it wouldn't feel such a need to escape?
Yes, like the whole survival mode thing.
Absolutely. In going deeper, is that maybe a more authentic version of self-care? Because wouldn't you rather just create a life that you didn't feel like you had to take a bath all the time?
Oh my gosh.
Calgon, take me away.
That's from our generation.
That's from our generation.
So
you might not know that one.
Yeah, if you're a youngin'.
Yes.
A spring chicken.
Yes.
You might not laugh at that, but some older gals, you might be there right with us.
Yes.
Oh
we all have days where we want to run away from our own lives.
Yes.
It doesn't mean if you ever feel like that there's something wrong. But if you regularly are like, I can't deal and I need to escape, and I just, my life is just not something I'm enjoying, is there anything that could be adjusted? Are there choices that could be made?
Yes.
Are there things that you're maybe avoiding addressing because it's scary or it's risky?
I think what I'm hearing you say is like, we don't have to be victims.
No.
And honestly, like, that is step one, I think, when we're in that place of survival mode. I remember like when the kids were all tiny, totally feeling like I needed to escape regularly. And
there
just going to be real.
There are those phases.
That season of life was really tough. I think when I had my third child, and I had 3 under 3 at the same time, it was really evident to me that nobody was going to take care of my self-care for me. And I had that revelation one day when I was like resenting my husband for like not reading my mind about how I needed a break or something. And I was like, well, that's dumb. Like, why would he be responsible for that? Like, he's got to deal with his own self, and he's a dad and he's busy too. Why am I doing that? Why am I giving my power away? And so that was kind of an awakening for me. And I ended up actually talking to a gal at my MOPS group, if you guys have ever been part of MOPS, Mothers of Preschoolers, and she actually would come and she would watch the kids 1 day a week, and that was my self-care. That was a life I didn't need to escape from, because actually when I had like the hour to wander at Target, I felt like a new mom. I was like a new woman. I loved my life. So it's funny how when you get that self-care, how you can totally feel differently about your life as a whole. And really, that was the issue, is I needed to become empowered and say, okay, let's problem solve. I need some time away.
Right.
Who could bring that for me? How could I do that in a way that's workable financially and otherwise?
Yeah, so you took the reins and you made a change.
I did.
And took initiative.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just going to happen magically.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was a process. And I mean, I kind of have to tell you guys, like, I'm a therapist and I still was slow to the game there. So it was kind of hard. So total grace. If you've been feeling victimized by your life, that's a great question to ask, is like, is there anything that I can adjust? I love that, in a proactive way that might adjust my lifestyle. And I think it goes back to intentional living.
Absolutely. There that comes again. That same old theme.
Yep. Because when we live kind of tossed to and fro, we just, well, you've said it. It kind of gives you a pit in the stomach.
It does. Makes me anxious.
Yes. When we feel out of control, it's like very anxiety producing. And I think we feel like we're not the captain of our own life.
Yes.
We're not the masters of our own destiny. And obviously God is in control, right? We get that. But it's just like when we are living sort of in reaction mode, we're just not feeling very comfortable, stable, safe.
Yeah, I call it default mode, where the life that happens if you don't do anything to the contrary. If you just sort of let it happen, what does life look like? For me, it doesn't look very good. If I have no intention and I just kind of let the day happen.
Yeah.
I end the day, like I was telling Dawn,
True confessions. Here it comes. It's fine. You guys will get it.
Cupcakes.
Wine.
Wine. And are those bad? No. But like, if there was 20 cupcakes, I might have. I don't know. I mean, like, I'll just eat and eat and eat. That's been a really common strategy in my life of escaping, I guess. I definitely look at my device way too much and just scroll through Facebook or whatever it is endlessly, even though even at the time I'm thinking this is so dumb, why am I doing it? I just keep doing it because it's easy and it's passive and I don't have to really do any effort to do that. And it's escape. I end the day just feeling awful. Like, what did this day amount to?
Yeah, there was no purpose.
There was no purpose, and I was just sort of floating along and just sort of being blown and tossed about by all these distractions and by all these ways of just sort of soothing myself or escaping. But in the end, I don't feel any better. In fact, I feel worse. What kind of self-care is that?
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's not self-care.
So
it's actually kind of self-destruction is what it is. I think the world can send us sometimes some confusing messages on that.
Yeah, and yet, like we mentioned earlier, there's nothing inherently wrong with bubble baths and chocolate cake. It's just that when we have these moments, we have to ask ourselves, I think, what are we looking for? You know, and what is it that we're trying to numb if we do find ourselves in that self-destructive place, which I certainly have as well. It's like, what do I actually need?
Right.
Most likely it's not chocolate cake or wine, just those self-destructive things, more device time. It's like, what am I really looking for?
True self-care, you're not going to feel worse afterwards. You're supposed to feel better.
Yeah.
But that might mean that for you, that self-care is going to be a process.
Yeah.
And it might be painful. It might not be very fun, but it might be that you have to make a big job change.
Yes.
It might be that you have to move. It might be a big thing that you're dreading and been avoiding, but yet you know that would make your life ultimately better. And it would help create a life that you wouldn't want to escape from, as that quote said. So self-care doesn't mean it's always fun or pretty, but in the end, it is ultimately caring for yourself because you're doing what's going to be best for you and your growth and your relationship with God and everybody else for that matter.
Yes. So Marsha and I were like, number one, you guys need to hear from some other women that this is totally normal. And we would challenge you to come up higher and to be intentional with your self-care so that you're not in that mode longer than you need to be, because it is anxiety provoking.
Yeah, and I think in life, being realistic with yourself, that you are going to have those times. Like for me to say right now, well, we made this video and we talked about it and I am never going to go into that mode again. I'm never going to eat those 10 cupcakes again or have those extra glasses of wine. I would be lying to myself because I know those times will come in life where I probably default, because that is a default for me. Yeah. And we all have those. You know, there's going to be times where I let my guard down a little bit. I stop being intentional that day. Something distracts me, or there's a big trial going on in life, or whatever it may be, and all of a sudden those default behaviors just kind of are there. Give grace to yourself. Those times are going to come, and Jesus meets us right there.
Totally.
He knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows exactly when we're going into that mode, and He's right there with us, ready to just kind of lift us out of that.
And you know, I always like to say, it's not about becoming happy, it's about becoming holy.
Amen.
So how can we become more holy? By falling down and growing and turning to God in all of it. And I love to ask Jesus, like when I'm in that place where I'm feeling really deflated, I like to ask Jesus, what do I need the most? And He will lay something on my heart. And it can be simple. Sometimes I just need a walk with my dog. Alone, you know, with no inputs, no podcast, no music, no people.
Maybe you need to hide the phone for a week,
just
whatever.
Put the phone away and like just be with my dog and nature and God. And you know, that does a lot for my soul. And so He always has these great ideas if I just slow down long enough and think to ask Him, which I think a lot of us take it on ourselves to do it by ourselves. And that's not the idea, obviously, as a Christian.
He did not tell me 10 cupcakes. That was me.
See, you're so funny. That's why I bring her on. Everybody's got their thing. And so again, you might have to try a few different things if you haven't been in the practice of self-care to see like what really gets the spot, you know, that you really feel like nurtured and taken care of and restored. We want to give you total permission to set that time aside, because a lot of people struggle to give themselves that time.
Absolutely.
And so whatever you need to do, if you need to call a babysitter or have your husband or a friend watch your kids, you're worth it. And, you know, you will be able to love people better as you refill your own cup. And, you know, even Jesus went away. Remember? Even Jesus went away and he was quiet and did his own thing lots of times in the Bible, right? Yes. And I think that's just for us. Like Jesus, like put that in there so that he would be like, see, even I needed self-care. Sometimes you have to make a bold move too. And I think, you know, you were talking about a bold move that you made recently in terms of improving your life or setting up a life that you didn't feel like you needed escape from.
Well, it was a very hard decision. I guess at the time I wasn't looking at it as a form of self-care. But again, if you look at self-care as just what it says, doing ultimately what's going to be best for yourself and valuing yourself enough to do that, asking the Lord what that might be. I had to leave a job that I've been at for very many years, where I've spent most of my career. And it was very difficult because I've been there a very long time and I was very much a part of that organization. So letting go wasn't just as easy as, oh, I'm done and turning my keys in. There was a lot more to it for me emotionally, but yet it was just time. I know that as hard as it was really a form of caring for myself because it wasn't going to be good for me to stay on there. Sometimes people stay in a situation a lot longer than they should because they're miserable, but it's comfortable. And it was a comfortable misery on some levels because at least it's a known misery, right? Is true. It's scary. It's really scary and it feels very risky. You know, if you're feeling that, realize that when you get to the other side of that, you're giving yourself a huge gift. Yes. And that's the best self-care there is saying, this is what I need to do and not feeling like you owe anyone anything in that process. Like you got to take care of yourself in those cases. Yeah. So it can be a big, bold thing like that too.
And this can be the case with toxic friendships or relationships or workplaces. I mean, it's just sometimes it's just time to move on. Usually we can tell because there's like a certain grace that lifts. That's at least what I've known. Tuning into what you need and how the Lord is leading you just brings so much freedom. And you're so glad on the other side.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This has all really been about redefining self-care. We want to broaden the definition to include things that aren't necessarily always indulgent, although chocolate cake and bubble baths and all that stuff is great. It's just all about the heart, right? If we're going to those things in a self-destructive mode or in a way to escape, that's different than doing something that's going to nurture ourselves or bring life and blessing. And so again, you know, as you hear so much on this channel, it's about our heart motivation and the agenda of our heart and why are we really doing what we're doing? And so it boils down to intentional living.
Well, what you might really need is to make some changes that are a lot bigger than choosing to take a bubble bath. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to ask yourself those questions. Give yourself a chance to process through that and see what else you might need to really meet whatever that underlying thing is.
It's all about building a life that you love living. And that is really the end game. So if you're there, way to go. And if not, maybe reflect and be like, what's missing? What do I need the most right now? And invite Jesus into that.
Amen.
Amen.